This is Faraday from AresMush, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to edit the code directly on your game server. We'll talk about why this is the simplest, but not necessarily the best way to edit your code. Let's assume we followed the installation instructions and have our own Ares game running somewhere in the cloud. To connect to the game, we need to use SSH, which is basically the secure version of Telnet. There are a variety of ways to do this. The easiest is to download an SSH client application such as PuTTY, which is one of the more popular ones and available on Windows and Mac. On a DigitalOcean droplet, you can connect from the droplet management page. You can also connect using the Mac terminal or Windows PowerShell. Once we're connected, we can navigate around the server by typing commands. ls lists the files, and cd changes directories. Most of the code we're going to edit lives in the AresMush plugins directory, where there are folders for each plugin. In this example, we're going to edit the tinker command. Now, if you've done the first coding tutorial on aresmush.com, you know that we can also edit this command through the web portal. Here, we're using it as an example to show you how you can do the same thing through the server shell. And you can use the server shell to edit any command, not just the tinker command. In order to edit the tinker command, we need a command line editor capable of running in this terminal shell. There are several available. The one I like to use is nano. You just type nano and then the file name, and it loads. So we find our command handler and we change it to do something different, like emit hello world. To save it, we use Control O. The commands are helpfully there at the bottom for easy reference. So now our file is saved. Now if we switch over to the game and we type tinker, we might expect to see our hello world message, but we don't. Why is that? In Ares code, it's important to remember that the code needs to be loaded before it takes effect. If you change a file on disk, the game doesn't know it changed until something tells it that it changed. When you edit the tinker or config files through the web portal is smart enough to notify the game and have it reload everything for you. But when you're editing stuff on the server shell manually, you need to do that step yourself. To do that, we can type load config to reload the configuration, or load and then a plugin name to load just a single plugin, or just load all to reload everything, but that's inefficient. In this case, we know what we changed, so all we have to do is load the tinker plugin. Once it's reloaded, we can type the tinker command again, and this time we see our hello world message. So that's how you edit code files on the game server directly. It's quick, it's easy. You don't have to install any fancy tools. Everything you need is already on the game server, but there are some downsides. The first downside is that the code editors that run on the command line, like Nano, are pretty limited. You can't click around with the mouse or cut and paste easily. It's hard to switch between files or search multiple files at once. They're very basic, which is fine if all you want to do is add hello world to the tinker command. But if you want to do something more sophisticated, like writing an entire character creation system from scratch, the editor is going to get in your way. The other downside is that you're changing the code on the game server, so when you want to test it, you have to test it on the actual game. If you do everything right, that's not a big deal. But if you mess something up, now you've messed it up for everyone on your game. Now that's what we're used to from Pen and TinyMush, but it's not necessarily the best way that we have at our disposal. That concludes this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll start to look at some better options, starting with how we can use FTP to modify files on our PC and then upload them to the game. Thanks for listening.